In this video, we are going to discuss about the introduction of the security attacks, its services and mechanism. Uh, as far as the cryptography is concerned, this is the topic which is prerequisites of the cryptography. That we must learn first that why we need security, what kinds of attacks which we are able to face, what kind of services we can provide, and what will be the mechanism by which the security attacks can be avoided. So, the first and the most important thing is why we need security. Uh, of course, previously when computer was in the market, initial computer applications uh, are not at all required security because the, the information or the purpose by which for which the computers were used was not so important, and the people are not thinking about the security features as far as the content is concerned, which is processed by the computers. This continues to of a certain year, and uh, the people after that came to know about the importance of the information what they are processing on their computers. And when the computer applications were developed to handle the financial as well as the personal data, then uh, everybody will become the requirement of the security. Now, after that, the people realized that since there is a transaction, financial transactions, there are some personal information, there are some database, there are certain codes which are available within the system. There are a lot of information is available, and it should not be. It should be private to oneself, and it should not be disclosed to each and everyone. So uh, then only the people come with the idea that we need a security. Security of what? Security of the information, which is either stored in the computer, or the security of the information which is flowing from one place to another place through the wires, or without wires. So whenever there is a financial transaction, where there is a personal data, where there is a code, where there is a certain information which is really personal to oneself, it should not be disclosed to anybody else. So that is why we are in need of security as far as the information which is residing inside the computers are concerned, or need of the security of any kind of the transaction which is going on with the computer with anybody else on an open network. That is why the people come to the idea that they are in need of the security. Now, nowadays, now the electronic documents, as far as is concerned, everything is being processed with the use of the computers. So all the electronic documents have become very, very important as the paper documents. In most of the cases, in the many offices, we have seen that there are certain confidential files, so that nobody else should be able to read whatever is the content of that file. Similarly, electronic documents, which is stored in a certain file, is also very important, and it should not be disclosed to anybody else. So, so as far as the danger is concerned, the attacks are concerned, it is concerned with the information which is either residing within the computer, or in the network in which the information is flowing from one place to another place. Now, later on, the internet come into the picture, and with the help of the internet, many transactions of the messages as well as the other things used to happen. So, the people are in need of the security. So, what is the basic security mechanism? Normally, whenever we have to use our computer, we provide certain information in the form of a ID and the password. Whenever we have to go to do something with the server, we are in need of the ID and the password just to give the authentication that I am a legitimate user of the server, or I am a legitimate user of the system. So basically, by providing ID and password is not more than sufficient. Whatever information is stored in the form of a database within the computer, it should not be visible to unauthorized persons. So we have to put those information in the form of a database in a certain coded form, so that if anybody is able to read it and able to understand it. So, what are the modern nature of the attack? Because of the invent of the computers, as well as through the development, the computers has become of the very good speed, as far as the searching is concerned, as far as the uh, locating a particular information within the system is concerned. So the modern nature of the first modern nature of the attack is the automating the attack. So that automating attack, we can write any attacker can write a certain kind of a program which will be automatically generating certain ID in the passwords, which will be doing the uh, monotonous job very easily. Of course, it is not possible for the human, because human dislike the repetitive task, but the machine can create the nuisance by automating it. So the first nature of the attack is the automating the attack. Now, the second is the privacy concern. Now, privacy concern means the collecting the private information and misusing is a major problem. Now, the collection of the information about the people, and then later on uh, disclose it to somebody else, so that the others are going to get the benefit. Others are going to receive the information about you. It is a bad thing nowadays. Now, so this process of collecting the information is actually called the data mining application, and which what it does, it gathers, processes, and tabulates all sorts of the detail related with the individual, and then it try to sell those information to the different companies for their benefit. Now, the third nature of the attack is the distance does not matter. Now, normally in the previous days, whenever any attacker wants to harm anybody else, it is necessary that he must be near to him. He must be facing him. If you take an example of that, any thief or the dacoit want to loot the bank, he has to be there in the bank. But nowadays, since all the financial transaction is being done within the computer system with the use of the computer system, so it is not necessary that a person who is sitting 1,000 miles away from a particular bank cannot harm, cannot attack on the transactions which is being served by the bank itself. So the third important point is distance does not matter. It is not necessary that the person has to be present physically in the bank to make a harm, to attack. It may be possible that sitting uh, many miles away from the bank, one person can do it. So we have certain security models related to the that. The first one is the no security. In this, in the simplest case, there the people are going to take the decision that they don't want any kind of security. They don't want to implement uh, any security. So the first model is no security. The second model is security through obscurity. Obscurity means to put oneself away, to put oneself aloof, but this is also not very safe, because security through obscurity is a kind of a model in which system is going to be secure, uh, because and nobody knows about the existence and the content of that particular content. If you have a system and you are doing some certain processing on the system, and it is aloof from the network, but that doesn't mean that you are very safe, because the time whenever you will be connected to the network, you will be exposed. The third model of the security is the host security. So the host security is, in this scheme, the security of each host is enforced individually, and this is a very safe approach. But there is a trouble in that also, because scaling is not being implemented in the host security, and the complexity and the diversity of the model site makes this task more harder. So the fourth model is the network security. Now, as we have discussed, that the host security is tough to achieve as far as the organization grows and becomes more diverse. So in this technique, we focus on the making the security of the network itself, which accesses in the various hosts as well as their services, rather than individual host security. So network security is seems to be very efficient as well as the scalable model. So these are the four security models through which we used to work. Now the security management practices. Uh, because whenever we are running an organization and we want our system to be secure, our network to be secure, individual system to be secure, we must have a policy, security policy, which has to be implemented. And as far as the management practices are concerned, for the security policies are concerned, there are four key aspects related to the good security policy. The first one is the affordability. Affordability actually means the cost and the efforts. Cost and the efforts means affordability related cost and the effort. So what we are trying to secure, and for any kind of the security mechanism, whenever we are applying in any kind of organization, it depends that whether it is affordable or not. I'm giving you an example. Suppose you want to secure the cash, and you want to secure the cash, and the cash amount is rupees 1,000 or 500 rupees, suppose, and you want to secure that money 500 rupees, and you are investing 200 rupees for the security of that 500 rupees. Is it affordable? It's not affordable. So whatever scheme, whatever policy we are going to implement, the first and the foremost thing is what is the cost which is associated with the in implementing the security, as well as how many efforts has to be taken care. If you have to open a lock, if you have to take the money from your Almira, and you have put 5 locks, and you have to open 5 locks to open that locker from which you can take your money. So the efforts are going to be more. So that is why the first and the foremost uh, part of the security policy is whether whatever we are implementing, it is affordable or not. Second one is the functionality. Functionality means the mechanism which we are applying for the security. It should be easy, it should be easily understandable to all persons who are associated with your organization. The third one is the cultural issues. Whatever security policy we are going to implement, it should be up to the people's expectation. Now you can take the example. Otherwise, if it is not up to the people's expectation, it will be going to not able to implement it effectively. For example, uh, if you have put a security of eyes, face scanning, and suppose in that particular organization there are certain ladies who are working and they are uh, Muslims. They used to put the burqa for that particular reasons. And for face scanning, then only they have to remove that cover on the from the face. Again, there is a cultural issue which has to be, which may lead to the revolt in that particular organization. So whatever policy we are going to implement, we must implement in such a manner that it will up to the people's expectation. And the fourth one is the legality. Legality means it is going to meet the legal requirement. Legal requirement, whatever policy you have adopted, there should not be any loophole. And in case of any legal matter, you are able to fight in front of the judge that whatever security you have provided, that is up to the mark, that is legally correct, and whatever has been done, it is illegal. So these are the four major aspects of the security policy whenever we are any organization is going to decide. Once we are able to decide the security policy depending upon the affordability, functionality, cultural issues, as well as the legality, uh, uh, one has to ensure that it should be communicated to each and every person very effectively. So the first part is explanation of the policy to all concerned. Everybody should know that what kind of policy is being adopted as far as the security is concerned. The second one is outline every responsibility. It is also necessary to outline the responsibility of each and every person to whom the policy has been communicated. Use simple language in all communication. Whatever communication we are going to adopt, it should be used in a simple language. Then accountability, establishment of accountability is also very important, that if it is going to be breached, who will be accountable for that. And the fifth one is the periodic review. Whatever security policy we have decided, there should be periodic review. Now the period may be 15 days, it may be 1 month, it may be 3 months, it may be 6 months, it may be 1 year, depending upon the condition of the organization or the requirement of the organization. Because it may be possible that a certain security policy, whatever we are adopting, it may vary from time to time. So every time we have to check that with the advent of the technology, with the advent of the development, whether whatever security policy we have adopted, it is up to the mark or not, or whatever we are adopting, it is working effectively or not. That is why the periodic review is also important. Now, uh, uh, there are two kinds of the program which we normally used to face. We have heard about many times about the virus, uh, and this is a kind of a program which is going to give the attack on the programs. And the virus is nothing but it is a kind of it is a program which is a program code which attaches itself with the legitimate program code, and it's going to infect the other programs which is available in the computer and causes damage to the network. So virus is it is an application of the network level attack which will be launched by a certain program code. Now, so in this, as far as the virus is concerned, people are very used to of doing some kind of harm with the help of the virus. Uh, and this virus has basically it has four phases. The first one is the dormant phase. A dormant phase, in this the virus remains ideal, and it gets activated based on the certain action or the event. Whenever a certain action or the event occurs, it is going to activate, and this phase is an optional phase. The second one is the propagation phase, in which it used to propagate. So in this phase, virus copies itself, uh, and each copy starts creating more copies of self, and thus it is going to propagate from one to another. Third one is the triggering phase. Triggering phase is any dormant virus moves into this phase whenever the action starts or the event is going to occur, and since it is waiting initially in the dormant phase, it is the triggering phase in which it is going to be activated. And the last one is the execution phase. This is the actual work of the virus, in which is going to give the harm to by displaying certain kind of the messages, by removing or deleting the files, by doing any kind of harm. Uh, so it is a destruction which starts in the execution phase. Now, as far as the viruses are, there are many kinds of the viruses available. First is the parasitic virus, memory resident virus, boot sector virus, stealth virus, polymorphic virus, and the metamorphic virus. And the name has been given to the virus depending upon their activity which they used to perform, depending upon their property which they have. So parasitic virus, this is the most common type of the virus. In such this virus, what it does, it attaches itself to the executable files and keeps replicating itself. And whenever the infected file is executed, the virus looks for another executable file and attach itself so that it is going to harm the another program also. So in this way, it used to propagate. It used to spread. Second one is the memory resident virus. This type of virus first attaches itself to the area of the main memory and then infects other executable programs that is to be executed. Boot sector virus, this type of virus infects the master boot record of the disk and spreads the disk, spreads on the disk when the operating system starts the booting process. Stealth virus, as the name has been given, stealth virus is a kind of a intelligence, has the intelligence, built-in intelligence, which prevents antivirus program from detecting it. It is going to hide itself in the system in such a way that any antivirus program, it is not going to uh, uh, connect with that kind of virus. That kind of virus is called stealth virus, which hides itself from antivirus program. Polymorphic virus, a virus that keeps changing its signature, its identity. It is going to change its identity on every execution. One time it is doing something, another time it will be doing different thing. So polymorphic viruses are very difficult to be detected, as well as it is very difficult to find, as well as it is, since it is very difficult to detect, so it is very difficult to remove. Now metamorphic virus is a kind of a polymorphic virus in which it is not only changing its identity, but this also keeps rewriting itself every time. And so these metamorphic viruses are more and more difficult to detect for the detection. Polymorphic and the metamorphic both are very difficult to be detected, but metamorphic are more difficult than the polymorphic virus. Now, worm is another kind of program, but it is similar to virus, but it is having different implementation. Uh, what actually virus used to do, it modifies the program, but worm replicates itself. Now, the replication of the program is so fast that it is going to consume a lot of resources which is available uh, in the computer as well as in the network. It is going to bring it down by capturing the resources, which is whatever is available. So it is not going to affect the program. It is actually going to affect the system itself. It is by capturing all the main memory as well as the network. It is going to choke the network, and it performs the destruction by eating the resources. That is how this worm used to work.